Well, hello and a very warm welcome to episode 11 of A Load of Clark and Ball. I'm the Clark, he's the Ball, Tony Bullen, and once again, we are in fantastic company. We're joined by a brilliant trainer I've known for over 20 years, Jim Reynolds, you can see on the bottom of the screen there. How are you, Jim?
I'm fine, thank you. Yourselves?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. And Tony, you would know Jim, of course, for a long time as well, for Walthamstow days.
Yeah, long time. Jim, one of the best in the business, can turn the dog out as well as anyone. These dogs are in immaculate condition. Every time you see Jim standing kenneling my own dogs, you look down at one of Jim's and you think, wow, how well turned out they are.
Yeah, brilliant. Right, well, focus is the semi-finals of the Northamptonshire Sprint at Towcester on Tuesday night, live on Racing Post, Greyhound TV and SIS. And we've got Jim on because, of course, his Ballymac Micko won the first heat in the first round last week. And he's a big runner in this competition. How is he, Jim?
Yeah, he's a fine fellow. Came off the race, no problems at all. And he's pleased that he won for us because he's still short of it just now. That's only his second race this year. He's had 2 races and 2 wins. He won up at Two Bends at Monmore for us. But it's a tough competition. And after watching the heats there's some real good dogs on there. So you've got to compliment Towcester for the way the management of all the incoming trainers, the way they accommodate them, and for the quality of competition that they put on for this.
I see he was second in that Bar 1 sprint at Dundalk last year, Jim. He was 33.3 then. I see you got him a couple of kilos heavier. Is that how you wanted him, with a bit of condition coming into this event?
Yes, what happened, he's been off since last November, so he was on the easy list for a little while. We also covered a bitch with him as well, so he's going to have a litter of pups on the ground from Zena's treacle. She looks as though she's got a pup in there for her as well. So he was on the easy list for a little while. We brought him back nice and steady. He's impressed in all his trials back, and he looks good with the weight on his back just now. He can get away with it over Two Bends just now, but once we get more racing into him and we step up to the 4 bends, we'll gradually trim him back down again. He was desperate, unlucky in the Bar 1. I thought going into the first bend we were chance of winning the race. The winner was a very good winner, but I thought we just be impressed with the first 2 bends. I felt that we got our back legs taken away from us, and he veered off the track slightly. As I say, it was a good run in defeat, but again, it was a very good competition.
Yeah, we'll talk about your plans with Ballymac Micko. You gave us a little clue there, Jim, as well, about up to 4 bends. But obviously, earlier on this year, I think he was anti-post favourite last year for the Golden Sprint down at Romford, but you made the decision to sidestep that one.
What happened is we felt that 2 bends would have suited him better as it stood just now, so that fitted in with our plans. The 1 having the winter break, 2 with us going and trying him at the stud duties as well. So we felt that the 2 bends would have been an easier introduction for him. He loves Romford. He's run round there on a regular basis, so he'll definitely go back to Romford. I'm desperately hope that we can revisit Towcester as well and trying him over the 4 bends. Little brother Pastana early on in his career looked like he was a short runner, but once he stepped up to the Derby trip at Shelbourne Park, he was staying it very, very strong and staying it well. So I think he will stay it. He won't be picking up dogs off the last bend, but I think if he's 4 or 5 lengths clear going into the 3rd bend, I personally think he will stay it once he gets stronger.
And obviously, Jim, this event is a week in between the races. Are you pleased with that format, or is he a dog that comes out of his races well? Would you have preferred it to be like a Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday, or are you happy with a week gap between the races?
Yeah, I'd take the week gap. He's a dog that looks after himself. He's a dog he's a good dog to train. When you take him down a gallop, he absolutely goes for 100 miles an hour when he's down there naturally. Some dogs are naturally good gallopers. Some are quite lazy when you take them down there. But he's one that works very, very hard when we take him down. Take a quick race if it comes along, but we'd also don't mind a week between the races. That suits for us just now.
Yeah, well, he was spot on in the first round. He actually went in heat 1 of the first round. We'll have a look at that now. He went from trap 4. He was the 4 to 7 favourite. Bentley Crew also qualified from trap 1 for Heather Dimmock, and Dollar Bill was in trap 2, the other qualifier. And he wasn't flashy from the boxes, Jim, but he paced up well. He just had his back legs clipped going into that corner, but he did it well in the end.
Yeah, they say in between 2 bend sprinters, he's not the best breaker in the world when it comes to it. Once he's inside 4 bend dogs, then he can show from the boxes. But in beside two bench sprinters that are naturally good breakers, he was found wanting in his Monmouth race at the boxes as well. But when his feet hit the ground, he has got electric pace early, and that served him well at both Monmouth and at Towcester as well. Hopefully that will continue in the semi-final.
Yeah, he was obviously very brave at the corner. What do you make of the 270 at Towcester, Jim? I think a lot of the 270s off the last bend. It's a very short run to the corner, isn't it?
Short run to the corner. It's a tighter first bend than it was when I was there. I felt that the best thing from a running surface perspective would have been to bring the hair rail down and kept circumference the same. But what they've done is they've taken the inside hair out towards the hair rail and it's changed the circumference of the track. Two things that I would like to see them doing at Towcester. The first one is I would like to see them get hydraulic boxes. And I think the boxes they've got are old school boxes. They're heavy traps. I think the hydraulic traps are a lot easier for the staff to work with. They're also easier for the dog from a braking perspective as well. And then there's another anomaly as well that strange one, and I don't know why you do things like this, but the trip for the 500 metres behind the traps at Towcester over 500 boxes, but the trip for the sprint is in front of the boxes. I don't understand why people do things like that. There should be a consistency with that. For me, I would like to see them move the trip back behind the traps as they've got in the majority of times.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. It's funny you mentioned the boxes there because I've noticed in trials and racing, particularly over the four bends, a lot of dogs are stumbling out the boxes. I don't think it's so much the same out the sprint boxes, which would probably be quite apparent in this competition. But yeah, a lot of dogs stumbling out the boxes, and that might well be the reason why that you've mentioned there, Jim. Very interesting.
Yeah. You just say that you can hear the traps when it needs two members of staff to close them. There is a lot of clunking going on when there's not got the smoothness that you get from the hydraulic boxes. But as I say, I think that it does impact on the dogs where the trip actually occurs on the box, because that determines who can see the hair. And as I say, if it doesn't go past the boxes, that can impact on, because the majority of tracks are in the boxes, and it is common that the dog going to Towcester for the sprint who stumble out the boxes first time round.
Yeah, interesting. He done a 15.92. Just quickly, he was out of 4 there. Jim, what do you think is Ballymac Micko's perfect trap?
Depending on what he's inside, but 3 or 4 is an ideal box for him. He's a dog that goes straight up from 3 or 4. He sweeps across at the bend, slightly moves off into middle track off the second bend. So a dog that likes to be out and on the bunny because of his style and because he wants to cut down going into the bend. You've got to clear. If you're not clear, it costs you. It cost us when we were in the sprint final at Romford. He got bowled over at the end because he wasn't clear. He was almost clear, but got back legs taken away as it cut down. So it's the running style. If you're not clear, it can actually cost you in running. If you are clear, it's a brilliant running.
Yeah, well, if he's going to drop onto the rail at the corner in his semi-final, he's going to need to be on his toes because we're now going to bring in the win of the heat number 2 in the first round, and this is very impressive. This was a track record, in fact, from Patrick Jansen's Bocco's John Joe, who goes from trap 1 here. Not going to see gem for John Mullins in 2. Shrewd Call, the sprinter of the year, in 4, but a 15.64. Very fast dog, this one. Jim, what do you make of him?
He is impressive. Patrick's got the dog absolutely flying just now. I believe it's bred by Rachel Wheeler in Tipperary as well. A member of Fantastic Litter has got Sam's Ellie, Peters Point, Foxwood Manny. So the litter is a very good litter, and the win was very impressive. The thing that I think works against him going into the semi-finals now, what he's got, he's not brilliant from the boxes. Where he is good is when his feet hit the ground, and what he's got in the semi-finals, he's got 2 dogs either side of him that are very good from the traps, and in Miko's favour as well. Layla's Boy is a dog that I watched him running in Ireland from trap 1 and won well from trap 1 and held a rails position. And in the heat, he definitely stepped down to the fence as well. So from a makeup perspective, I think Bocco's John's got it to because he's not guaranteed to get the room to do his running for both traps 1 and 3, and Micko's favoured draw in the sense that 4 will step down towards the fence, good room to do his running.
Yeah, I think. What do you make of Bocco's John Joe Tony? He's a super fast dog, is he? When he gets that inside running route.
Yeah, well, that was his first win away from Romford as well. All his wins have been at Romford. He smashes the 24-second barrier for fun when he gets it right. And when he does get it right, he's awesome, Dave. And he's not a dog that I would call an out-and-out sprinter, but when he is clad in that red vest, he's formidable for sure. And as much as he's drawn off the fence, I think he's got the right dog on his immediate inside, and he's going to take the world of beating. But Jim's dog, I mean, Class has seen him win back-to-back races since returning. He had to work really hard at Monmore, just fiddled the first bend, but Class saw him home. And again, I think Class saw him home there the other night. Bentley Crew ran a blinder. And the Bentley Crew dog, admittedly, it might have raised a few eyebrows to some. That dog's got 1580 on the card in solo trials at Towcester. So it wasn't a major shock. And as I say, Jim knows that his fella's going to come forward with more runs, the more blowouts he had. And what impressed me with Jim, he gave him enough looks in preparation for this event. He gave him 3 trials on the spin, and that to learn the contours of Towcester is vital.
Yeah, obviously every dog's different, Jim, and you've chose to do that with Ballymac Micko. Does it sort of bemuse you a little bit not to run down other trainers when trainers don't bother to trial their dogs, because, you know, preparation is surely the key?
It's actually knowing your dog is key. I was training Vic's Jam last year there for us, and I worked out that he went to a fresh track, he absolutely nailed it every time he went to the traps, and he was a dog that you wanted to take fresh. You wouldn't want to give him a trial because he would perform well. So it's knowing your dog. There are those that like to see a track 2 or 3 times, and there are those that actually like to go fresh. We had a Rathbeg Parade in Sutton's Hill when I was a kennel lad at Romford. They love going to the first time, second time. And of course, all the locals were saying, "Oh, this is too hard a track to run. You need to have a trial." And they nailed it every single time they went. So it's knowing your dog.
Yeah, placement very much a part of training dogs as well. Right, we'll have a look at the first semi-final then, the 6:43, which of course is live on Racing Post Ground TV and SIS. And a big thank you to the guys at SIS for supplying us with those replays. Dollar bill in 1 for Jason Bloomfield. Bocco's John Joe, Golden Sprint winner and track record holder, in 2 for Patrick Janssen. Swift Guard for Ben Reynolds in 3. Lila's Boy for Nathan Hunt in 4. Ballymac Micko for Jim Reynolds in 5. And Agaba and Joy for Paul White, the Monmore trainer, in 6. Now, you mentioned that he's going to take some beating. We all know that, Tony. What sort of price do we think Bocco's John Joe's going to be?
I put him in around 4 to 6, Dave. I went 2 to 1, 9 to 4 Jims, and then Swift Guard probably 6 to 1, 5 or 6 to 1. 1 will be a big price, 6 will be double figures, and I think 4 will be double digits. As much as he was impressive on debut, that's a tricky draw. And the Swift Guard dog, I mean, he's a real heavyweight, 36 kilos. So if he comes away in his best fashion, I mean, he won the RPG TV Sprint at Newcastle last year, claimed some decent sculpts, and he's shown that he isn't a one-trick pony. He's beat Gilo Goldust at Nottingham and upstaged her in the first round. So if he comes away running, Bocco's misses it, as good as you are, slightest mistakes in a sprint, and you're in trouble. And I think Jim's dog, he's got a good draw. 6 will be wide. She holds her form well, 6, but in a clean run race, I do expect Bocco's John Joe and Ballymac Micko to show their class, and could be a shootout.
Yeah, as much as you're a brilliant trainer, Jim, I know that you're a student of the form and the game as well. Obviously, you want to see a big run from Ballymac Micko. You mentioned that forward head inside. Sounds like you're going to be disappointed if he doesn't qualify here, because there's not really any excuses on the draw if he times it right, is there?
No, the draw's a good draw. It works well for us. Obviously, he's got to perform in the day, and you can't make a mistake in a sprint. You make one mistake in a sprint, and you're in trouble. Taylor's Boy's a dog that impressed at a big price, 18 to 1 returns. For me, the price was the wrong price, because it's got 3 race wins at Cork on his card. But the impressive thing about him, he's got a 191 sectional at Thurles and a 335 sectional at Cork, and that's very impressive running early with doing them. So I think he went under the radar there, and he shouldn't have been the price that he was. So it's a class race. There's not a lot separating them in the clock other than the 64. But as I say, key for me for that one is what's can happen at the boxes? Will it be able to dictate things from the start? And I think he's going to be hard pushed with both 1 and 3 very good natural breakers.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I'm going to be with Ballymac Micko there, but it's not a 2-dog race by any stretch of the imagination. Looking forward to that. Right, we move on then to the second semi-final, which is the 7:18 on the card, race 5 on Tuesday night. Mr. Roo for Leafield in 1, Mina Marvel in 2 for Neil Britton, 3's Knocknasee Gem for John Mullins in the white jacket, Optimism in 4 for Richard Devenish, Gilo Gold Dust was also a finalist in the Golden Sprint at Romford for Cole Perry, and Liz McNair's Queen Lily in trap 6. I'll throw to you first, Tony. How do you see this one?
I mean, Queen Lily was absolutely one of those elastic band electric starts in the heat. Can she produce that back to back? If she does, then she's going to book her place in the final. But I do like Gilo Gold Dust, Cole Perry's bitch. It was at course and distance last year that Gilo Gold Dust won a maiden sprint event, and that was the launch pad for her to go on to better things. She finished 3rd in the national sprint at Nottingham and was gallant runner-up in the golden sprint at Romford. I thought she lost nothing in defeat behind the Swift Guard in the first round. You got the local Optimism. I think Connections will have to be a bit optimistic from that slot in this particular semi. I thought that the value price dog could be Mr. Roo because he's got his draw on the inside, but I think Gilo Gold Dust, she's just a model of consistency. That spin back at Towcester following a little bit of a stint on her travels will serve her well. So I'd be with 5 here.
Yeah, and Jim, I'm sure you wouldn't mind if Ballymac Micko came away on Tuesday night how Queen Lily did in the first round. That was an incredible break.
Yeah. Very, very impressive. The clock that she done, 15:69, is impressive. Mr. Roo ran impressive in defeat again behind it as well. But it's an absolute brilliant race. Gilo Gold Dust 23 times in the first 2 in 26 races. That's unbelievably consistent to be doing that over 2 bends. It's a class act for him. So it is a tough race going into it. And I think you could pick one from the 1 dog, the 5 dog, and the 6 dog and make a case for them all.
Well, which one's it going to be, Jim? Have you got a selection for us? I'll push you for one.
I've got to go with Rab. I've got to go with 6. I think he worked wonders with these dogs, and we've got Sport Scotland on it. So yeah, I'll go.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, I'm going to take a chance with Optimism, actually, the local dog in trap 4 for Richard Devenish, who is arguably the top graded sprinter, should we say, at Towcester, although he's probably an open racer, really. It's just a dog that he wants the inside, but he breaks better from the middle. And I'll give him a chance. It'll probably be a huge price. Right, let's move on then to the third and final semi-final, which is the 7:56, and it features a classic winner in here as well. Skip Along Sarge in trap 1 for Patricia Cowdrell, Ballymac Trend, the Oaks winner, in 2 for Kevin Boone, Bubbly Kane for Paul Young in 3, Bentley Crew for Heather Dimmock in 4, Shrewd Call, the Sprinter of the Year, in 5, and Feather Breeze for Richard Joyce, a finalist in the national sprint at Nottingham last year. Where are you nailing your colours here, Tony?
Well, I put Feather Breeze up at a massive price, anti-post, Dave, and I was delighted with the way the draw worked out. When I saw the 3 semis, I was like, well, I've got every chance of getting this fella into the final from this makeup. Shrewd Call, we all know he was conquering last year. He won the Silver Salver Central Park, won a sprint at Hove, won the sprint event at Yarmouth, reached the Golden Sprint final. But he scrambled through by the skin of his teeth last week. But the fact that he remains in the event is cause for the others to be concerned, because on his day, he's as fast as any. And what I do like with him, when he does trap level, he picks his racing line. There's no wandering around the track. He'll stay where he comes out and keeps a lovely racing line. But I've got to be with Feather Breeze here, Dave, because I think Bubbly Kane could edge across to the inside. Ballymac Trend, clearly not an out-and-out sprinter, but Connections will be delighted that she ran an absolute blinder, finishing well. Skip Along Sarge is no back number at Monmore. I think the inside gets a little bit congested, and 5 and 6, 6 and 5 get the run out wide. And I'll be with Feather Breeze to actually win the heat as well, Dave.
Yeah, another great race, this one, Jim. And Shrewd Call, sort of an example of the 270 at Towcester, because he's a dog who, he isn't flashy from the boxes, but he really flies into the corner. But over this trip, of course, the number of strides these dogs have got into the corner is very much restricted, and that might just be his undoing. He did scramble home, but he's a very fast dog, isn't he?
He's a very fast dog. He's in relatively good form going into the competition as well, and I think he's got a better makeup of a draw today. I think Bentley Crew, who raced against Micko, definitely wanted a rails pitch for me, and I think he's stepping across as well and giving Shrewd Call plenty of room to be doing his running in it. But again, it's a competitive race again. The one dog finishing his first 10 times in 14 starts. Again, for a sprinter to run that consistent, the connections are doing an absolute brilliant job with it. Kevin's dog in 2 is a sprint winner, a full bend race winner at Swindon. So he'd be the strong running dog coming off the last bend and running. Bubbly Kane run very well behind Queen Lily in his first race this year. So that's a dog open to a huge amount of improvement as well. But I think the makeup of the race, Paul, would be my choice for it.
Yeah, 5 for Jim, 6 for Tony. I'm going to be with the Oaks winner, Ballymac Tread. I couldn't believe. I was surprised she was in the competition, and then I couldn't believe the run she put in the first round. She was absolutely motoring without really coming away. I don't think she's going to be able to live with some of the top sprinters, your Boccos, John Joes, and your Ballymac Mickos, and perhaps even a Feather Breeze if Feather Breeze comes away. But she was very impressive just to qualify, and she might go well at a big price. I'd like to bet her to place actually in that race because she was very, very impressive. Right, first 2 go through, of course, into the final, the £5,000 final, and we'll look forward to that, of course, on Racing Post Greyhound TV. A week on Tuesday, and hopefully you'll be in there, Jim, with Ballymac Micko. And you mentioned a little bit earlier on before we got into the sprint that his future is 4 bends. We spoke a couple of weeks ago, and this is a sort of, I think you called it his swan song. This is his final big year, and you are eyeing up the Derby. Should he stay?
Yeah, and I always say that you've got to try these things. There are people who tell me that no, he's not going to be strong enough. His best performances have been at Romford. He's a Romford type dog. But when you watch the Stana before the Irish Derby started, he was up over 5.25 off the last bend and looked like he was a little bit of a short runner and wouldn't get the Irish Derby trip. But the more he ran over it, the stronger he got, and he ended up staying the Derby trip very well and ended up being Antipo's favourite for it. Very, very unlucky not to be making the final, but he's made a full recovery and he's now back to doing stud duties as well, and I've got no doubt that he'll be very popular as stud.
He's won out of all traps as well. He hasn't won out of trap 1, but he's won out of traps 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And I agree with, like, if some people have got a dog that they think's worthy to go in the Derby, some people's Derbies, the first or second round, they try and have a little bit of a touch in the first round, and then the rest is a nice roller coaster ride. If you can go deep, to be true for you, I think there'd be many that wouldn't want to be in with you because you've got the early pace, and we all know that getting around them first 2 bends at Towcester in front, you've got a chance of defending the league, Jim.
Yes, and as I say, there's nothing worse than not knowing. There's nothing worse than wondering if I did try, what would it have been like. I'm always one for pushing the ball out. I'm always one for asking the questions. But then you've got to be realistic. Once you're looking at times, once you're looking at a clock, then that tells you whether you're going to be good enough or not. For me, he's a class act. He would be going into the Derby to the 3rd bend clear every single time, and that's worth its weight in gold and race conditions for you.
And reading between the lines a little bit earlier on, a question that Tony asked you about his weight, and you mentioned you might shave a bit off of him for that. Would that help him stay, Jim? Explain it to a layman, a non-trainer like myself. Would you take weight off of a dog so they could stay that little bit further?
Definitely, yes. As I say, it looks good now. It's filled out, but I think stepping up into 4 bends, we would definitely be looking at taking maybe another kilo off of him. Once he's got half a dozen runs under his belt, once we're rating over 4 bends, that will naturally happen.
Okay, fascinating. Go on, Tony.
He's not going to be your only contender. Recent purchase, Corin Derrick, now Ritzy Flyer, Jim.
Yeah, he's going round Towcester for us just now in trials. Qualified to race, but we want to go for the maiden Derby, so we don't want to put him in race conditions just now. So we're holding fire with him. It's costing him a month's race career for him, but we think it's worthwhile because he looks like he's got that he could be competitive with it, and also a dog that I think he'll be competitive once he's over 6 bends. Well, he was very impressive in defeat in his 2 runs at Cork. He was ultra impressive in his win at 21 round goal over 5. What he showed there was he showed that he's actually got a little bit of pace early as well in running. So he's an exciting prospect.
Now, come on, Jim, because he's a dog that will have the bookmakers crying if he were to go all the way and win the Derby. Is this overexcited, overzealous owners, or are we thinking this is the real deal, this dog, and he can go a long way?
No, I think it's a combination of both. Definitely overzealous, because they're always overzealous. That's part and parcel of the job, unfortunately. But there's just reason for doing that. He definitely looked like a class act. What we've got to do is we've got to see him in race conditions over here. That's going to make the difference for them. It's one thing looking impressive in the full battle or a dog battle. It's another thing actually doing it in race conditions. So that's the question he's got to answer next.
Yeah, well, he's in good hands. Anyway, for anyone watching who wouldn't be familiar with your background, Jim, just quickly give us a very brief run-through of your life in greyhound racing.
Born and bred in Scotland, brought up in the flapping tracks in Scotland with a reasonable amount of success with homebred dogs. We bred our litters up there. Hack-up Chieftain was the first litter we worked with, with litter from Hamler with Will Irvin and Barbara Tompkins. Were good friends of them. They trained dogs for us. When we raced in flapping tracks in Scotland, we raced Falkirk, Cashfield, Wishaw was our favourite tracks. I came down from Scotland in the late 70s to work in England. I worked for Griffin to start with, who was the breeder and trainer of El Cavalier, who was runner-up in the Edinburgh Cup, runner-up in English Derby behind Blinska Band. Then moved to Dave Oswald at Romford, where I was head lad for Dave for many years. Met my wife, Sue, who was head girl for Peter Payne. Sue's worked with the dogs from the early 70s. Often in kennels with Bob Thompson when it was all contract and employed trainers before they went to the contract trainers. So that was another lifetime ago. That was. Got married, moved up to Scotland, trained dogs at Shawfield at our kennels at Auchenbowie. GRA conveniently shut Shawfield back down, so we had to trek back down south again. With I now had a son and daughter in tow. Donna had a beautiful Scottish accent when she came down from Scotland. Started working at Romford again as assistant trainer, and at Romford got our own licence again in 1990. Trained at Rye House, where we first met Tony and his dad. Loved that one there. That's the salt there for the trainers. Brilliant dogs and brilliant trainers. Absolutely loved it there. Absolutely fantastic. Then moved to Canterbury, moved to Ramsgate, moved to Crayford, moved to Walthamstow, and then moved to Romford, and then Towcester, and then back to Crayford again. So it's been a long journey over many, many years.
Yeah, very respected trainer, Tony.
Without a doubt, it must be peace of mind, Jim. As you say, you're a very close-knit family, and the fact that you've got good people doing the dogs, it must, like, you must wake up in the morning and think like everything's in safe hands.
Yeah, fantastic. With having Sue and with having Donna here, the workload that we've got, the routine that we've got in place, and the enthusiasm that they carry on when they're doing the job is fantastic. And as I say, it's our job to make sure the dogs are in good condition, make sure they're healthy, make sure that, most importantly, that they're very, very happy. Got a good routine. We're old school when it comes to feeding. We cook up every day, lots and lots of fresh vegetables for them, lots of fresh beef for them, lots of cooked beef for them, lots of salmon and their dinners as well. So we make sure that their health and their internal working as they can be, because as an athlete, you've got to have those things right before you can perform in any sport. It doesn't matter whether it's greyhounds performing. I always say, people say they're dogs. They're not dogs to us, they're athletes for us, and you've got to treat them accordingly.
Although I did burn my fingers on Horseshoe Ping in an A8 back in the day, Jim, and the rest is history.
And you realise it was my other dog that beat it as well.
Oh, no.
Don't you think I've been reminded of that?
I knew he had ability, though, that dog.
The other one that I get as well, I was on the phone to a lad up in Yorkshire. He worked with John McGee at the time, and I was coming off the track with Fat Boy Slim, his first solo trial for us ever, and I was on the phone to him and I said, listen, got a dog who's going to win the derby for us. Make sure you get on. And he went through the grades at Walthamstow from bottom grade to top grade as well, before going on to have a fantastic career in open races. And if you look at Horseshoe Pig's career and look at his runs, his win-run ratio, it's absolutely fantastic that he could do that, what he could do it again and again and again. And we've got lots of dogs. Borna Karma was the same, Borna Sailor was the same, Borna Monte, and they were all dogs that went through the grade and went on to have fantastic careers in the open race scene as well.
The Trafalgar Cup was an event that you used to attack when it was at Oxford, should I say. Sensational. She won it for you in 99, I think. Did she have a little bit of a short career in the end, Jim?
She had a short career, yeah. She won open races for us at Walthamstow. She won at Oxford, and unfortunately she broke a hock very, very early in her career. The upside of that was she went to Ireland to Anne Michael Fitzgerald's in McGilly, and she had an absolutely fantastic Group H career. The open race winner after the open race winner for Anne Michael's and fantastic Group H. So there was a downside in that we lost. It was a short racing career, but the upshot was we had actually pups coming through from year after year that were winning open races around from bred to the country.
And the other bitch, I think it was named after Clarkey. You Never Listen, 2015 Golden Sprint winner.
Yes, Hilda was impressive as well. Bought out Ian Greaves' yard, but she was a fantastic bitch off a fantastic litter. The Towcester and litter were, for me, they were the litter of the year, as I think that the Stana and the Ballymac Micko litter. If you look at their litter comrades, there wasn't a weak one there. So there was a member of fantastic litter.
Was it Swift Hoffman, Domino Storm? Was that litter? Brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a fantastic litter for the Ian Greaves kennels out in Monster Evan. Yeah, so she was a brilliant bitch between as well. It's actually strange because when you get good dogs like Horseshoe and Fat Boys and Ornamonte, their nature and their temperament, it's all their nature and their temperament that's what makes them a good athlete. And it's with footballers or with athletes, it's the temperament that allows them to do the things that they actually go and do. So it's a combination of factors that determine whether you're going to achieve greatness there for us. So we're fortunate enough to get one or two that were able to do that.
Well, we've been fortunate to have plenty of your time, Jim. I won't keep you too much long because I know you're a very busy man. Just quickly, I saw on social media we've got a website being built, have we? Is that how people are going to be able to get in touch with yourself?
Yeah, we're due to launch fairly soon. What we've done is we've got the website up to show the future dogs to follow that are coming through, but also to pick up on our past winners as well to see what we've achieved down the years. We're going and doing it. We've also got a Twitter site coming up and a Facebook page coming up as well. So we'll have all our greyhounds on show, and you'll be able to watch the future dogs that are coming through for us. Looking forward to this year's Grand National as well. We've got Ballymac Blue came back to winning forms after having a spell off during the winter time. There he was very, very impressive last time out. So all roads lead to Sittingbourne and the Grand National for them, and also for Max and Elizabeth Ash hopefully be able to step up and take the big boys on in the Grand National as well.
Yeah, why not? Absolutely fantastic. Tony, we've kept great company once again on another episode of a Load and Clark Ball, and we're looking very much forward to the sprint at Towcester. It's a little bit more competitive than the betting suggests, but top end of the market, top class animals.
Yeah, hopefully the cream rises to the top again, and I think it'll be a fascinating final, whatever two you pick from the three semi-finals. But yeah, all to play for, no margin for errors in a sprint. But I ain't spoke to Jim for a long while, and it's just great. The knowledge, and it's just brilliant. I could sit here all day and talk to Jim. Not that he'd want to sit here all day and talk to me, but fantastic to get back in touch with Jim.
Yeah, he did. Well, he did mention that the injunction's been lifted, so it's all right to have you both on. Jim, it's been absolutely fantastic seeing you, talking to you, and best of luck at Towcester and going forward as well. Thanks for your time, and thanks for everyone watching as well. Look out for the next episode of A Load of Clark and Ball.